Hi, I'm Lori Brackett, and today I'll be going over painting a picture of a buffalo with you. I have this frame and I have put a can of canvas to be able to fit inside the frame, and so we're going to use this lovely, wonderful canvas because it says Bison to me. Okay, so we are going to be doing this. Before we get started, since I know about how big I want it to be, I'm going to draw a line here because it is so small and I don't want my image to go much beyond that border when I draw it out. Okay, along with that we have here my palette. I have got a new palette out with a bunch of colors that I kind of spread out. Start over here, we have titanium white, and then right here we have the Naples yellow, then we have yellow ochre, we have a viridian red and green, we have the alizarin crimson, and then we have our cadmium yellow and our cadmium orange hiding behind my water here. And then we start out with the raw umber or the raw sienna, the burnt sienna, and the burnt umber, and then we go over here to the French ultramarine blue, and then we have our burnt umber. I know that these are kind of reversed here, but that's kind of the way I got used to painting them, or painting with them. And then I have Indithorn blue here. We have our cerulean blue right here. We have two different companies worth of sap green. This sap green is Winsor Newton sap green, and then this one is Grumbacher. Personally, I prefer the Grumbacher because it's a nice darker, but I have them, so I kind of use both of them. And then here I have the phthalo blue, and then I have the phthalo yellow green, and then over here I have a sap green. And these are kind of some of the colors that I use when I paint. I do have my brushes here as well as some knives. Okay, today I'd like to be able to do a bison. I love the position of this bison's head, but it's kind of blurry and out of focus, and the color's not that great because it was raining at the time these two were taken. I do like the nice rich colors of this one, so I'll be using some of the colors that I see in this one to be able to fit it into this side here. So that's what I'll be doing with there, and I have that set up there so I have something to look at. Okay, first we'll start out and we'll do a little drawing here. Now we want to be able to fit this onto here, so we're going to kind of roughly draw this out. Can you see that? Get some drawing. His big head. Get his hump back there, like that. And he's got kind of a triangular shaped nose here, so we'll be drawing that in there. And his eyes, if you'll notice with the triangle, you've got two different triangles going here. You've got this one here, and then you've got this longer one with his beard going down this way. Okay, you figure out I'm going to stay from his nose to his eyes to the top of his head, so his eyes are right there in the middle. So right there in the middle is his head. And then he's got this little nose right in here. And then he's got his beard. Now if we notice from this one, because this one kind of cuts off his beard a little bit, this one shows how long his beard is, and it's kind of a scraggy little beard. And then we'll come back up here, and then he's walking, so there's his leg coming that way and that way, and then we've got the fluff right up there. Now this eye is kind of hidden. You know that you can see the eye because the shine happened to glint off, and you can see the little sparkle on his eye. So we know that that eye is right over around in there. And then with this eye, keep track of where your horns are and how big your eye is going to be. this one, I was going to drop it into here. Keep in mind that let's make him bigger there. Okay, a lot of times with drawing you keep your eye on thirds, so kind of make sure of where your thirds are hitting. It's the golden mean, so that you can kind of get your focal point in the correct space, or you can get it evenly pushed one way or another. Okay, once you have it drawn out, a lot of times people do not like their graphite to mix with their paint, so we do a little bit of a spray sealer on it so that the paints and the graphite won't mix. So I will go and do that now. Okay, so I have got this sprayed now. Now we're ready to put on a background coat because we do not want any white to show through, and the background coat will give it a nice lively color. A good coat that I like to do is either like a yellow ochre, or I even like to do a burnt umber. On this one, to give it a little bit of life, I am going to work with the burnt sienna. Now, the media that I'm working with is a water-soluble oil, which means that I don't have to use turpentines and I don't have to use too many of the oils to be able to thin it out. I can use just plain water. It also cleans up with soap and water, which makes it really handy if you have to do some painting in your own home. Okay, so that's got a nice background color to it. I'm going to paint it out till it dries just a little bit more here. I like to have my paper towels handy to wipe. And this gets rid of a lot of the white here. Okay, with this piece we're going to start laying in some background color. So remember, we're going by our little guy here, so that we know that we've got some darker browns here, some lighter browns here, and then we've got some greens that we're working with here. This is the other to get some more color, and then this is the color that I want it to be, just a little bit more vibrant on color. Okay, so I'm going to start putting those colors in here, and I'm going to kind of just lay them in. Now there are several different ways to paint. Some people like to mix their colors before they put them on. Me, a lot of times, I just mix right on my board. So if I want to go lighter, I can go lighter. Darker if I want to go darker. And I'm going to just kind of follow a little bit of my pencil lines here. I like to mix my yellows and blues. The reason I put my yellow clear over here and my blue here is so that if I want to mix some greens, my greens will come up through here in the middle. And if I want to go darker, I can put a little darker in there. Now it doesn't matter too much if you go over your lines, because you can repaint it over. This right here that we're doing now is just kind of a background paint, so that we can kind of keep track of where our values are coming in. Since I want this painting to be a little more painterly, than I normally do. I'm not gonna, not gonna get too fussy with it. So I want to keep some lovely strokes and some good paintbrush markings on here. I'm mixing my blue and the brown. The blue and the brown get a nice dark color. Now if I want to make it nice and really rich and dark, I can even add a little bit of the red and a little bit of this dark blue and add it in for a nice dark shadow. A lot of times I just mix my dark colors together if I want a nice dark. I do not use a whole lot of blacks in my painting unless it calls for something very special. And if I want to change the color on my brush, I just kind of mix it up with the water and then just use a paper towel to blot it with. Okay, let's add some lighter color up across here on his bone here. Let's mix a little bit of the white and the yellow and just kind of paint that on. Now we're just getting the base coat color in here so that we have somewhere to work with whether or not we need to push it lighter or darker. Now for my shadows, you'll notice that I was tipping into my blues. That was to get a nice dark shadow in there. He's got some dark right there above his nose just before it gets too shaggy. I'm going to put a little highlight here so I don't lose my horn in and amongst all his hair. So he's got that horn there, and then this one. It's kind of light there. Look at his nose going out right here. Okay. Look real close at this and make sure we've got things in the right proportion and where we need it to go. Okay, so here we're going to kind of work a little bit more with getting the correct shape. Shaping his head a little more as we come around the side. Okay, now I'm going to start switching to a smaller brush so that I can work some more into some of these smaller areas. I'm going to pull out a couple of choices here. Okay. And then I usually start out with the bigger brushes, and then I go to the smaller brushes once I start bringing it in a little tighter and a little tighter. Put in some highlights here across his top. Now since this is painterly, I'm going to keep my brush strokes just fairly individual. Just make him look kind of scruffy. I'm going to lighten that horn on the other side, even though my picture shows it as being darker. But a lot of other bisons have lighter horns. I just kind of want to accent that I know that it's over there, and especially where his horn on this side is lighter. So I'm going to do them both kind of light to match each other, because we don't want him to look like a one-horned bison.